Hey everybody. There we go. Looks like the sound is working now. Uh, Thanks so much for joining me again. I'm Full Queue developer and I make apps on stream for your viewing pleasure. Um, we've been working on uh, exploring the Xcode beta, which will be released usually in September, uh, but in the fall, according to Apple. And it looks like the preview here is a little porked. So some things, some things stay the same with Xcode. Um, we had some really funny stuff yesterday. Was just retyping stuff in, made stuff work. Um, so we're showing timers in the app. You can pick an icon and text, and I think I want to work on inspecting a timer today because it will help with the understanding the navigation stack. And that's one of the new features in iOS 16 that I'm excited to explore. Lets us have programmatic control over um, navigation in a way that previous versions of SwiftUI did not allow. Um, so this isn't something that I've looked into yet. So we'll be learning together. And first off, I guess it started off as a study, and it automatically calls study whatever you name it app when you create a new app. So perhaps perhaps it's time for a different name here. Maybe this is timer app. I mean, it's really unfortunate that app is kind of already taken because it would be good to just call this app. And is that gonna work? I mean, we kind of bumped into this study app not found in any targets. Let's see, let's try running it in the simulator. Like, what do you call a layout that's like only for one view? Not just naming it the whole view layout. Naming is hard. Okay, well, I don't want to lock us up too much with this. Oh, okay. We have this bug again. Or it just wants you to go to this screen and then you're free to go. They have all our silly test timers here. Can the preview launch again? Yes. Good morning. Hey, welcome back. So it looks like this worked. So let's go ahead and commit that. I use Tower for this app. I use Tower for version control. Please sponsor me. Oh well. Um, name the app. Cool. So as I mentioned, I want to see if we can play with this navigation stack. Um, Perhaps tapping on the top right corner of the timer will sort of navigate you to that timer, or maybe little info button on the bottom right, because I guess tapping in maybe the central area start the timer, but like a smaller part of it will go towards like an inspection screen. Um, let's make just a plain inspection screen. What's it called in CRUD? Display, timer display screen. Inspect feels better though. Edit maybe. Well, that's something we can definitely rename. I guess our little roadmap for this is sketch out a skeleton screen, skeleton destination screen, button on detail button on timer, I guess. Or maybe like long press. And then we want to do the navigation stack. Maybe a microscope emoji too. Okay, so let's make just a skeleton destination here, just to show that something's working when we do the navigation. I suppose it takes a timer ID, and it will like display that timer, I suppose. So we'll just show the ID for now, just to show that we've gotten somewhere. Maybe give it a navigation title to show that that's hooked up as well. Ooh, timer detail. I guess that's the better name. Okay, so we have a skeleton destination. So let's make a detail button on the timer, or perhaps long press. I mean, I guess there's not much room on the timer to have a detail button, but long press is also hard to discover, so it's tough. Silicon Sorcery says, "I am back, working on getting fonts out of Figma. The plugin was open source. Now learning some TypeScript and plugin development in Figma. I have a few small changes to make in order to assign Unicodes to the exported glyphs." Did you ever get the number 3 to export? I remember that 3 wasn't free yesterday when you were talking about this. While we wait for an answer there, yeah, long press is hard to discover for a user, and there's not much room for a button. It could lead to accidental taps as well. Oh, that was a different web-based tool, so Silicon Sorcery. No, I did not. Okay. Well, excited to hear how it goes. Well, let's start with long press, and we can do design changes later, I suppose. So do I need to wrap this in a group? Uh, sure. Okay. I guess because if let on its own, we can be a view because it's a view builder. But if we want to put something on it, I guess we need to wrap it in a group. Let's see, we can just print for now that we pressed alongly to see if this worked. Uh, I would say that didn't quite work. I restarted, right? Maybe this isn't the right place for it. Um, so I know each of these cells both use our cell template. I wonder if maybe that's a better place to put it in. Because here's the button. Maybe we can put on long press right on the button. Ooh, and I have an extra close curly. There we go. So is the long press uh, being, what's it called? Overwritten by the actual gesture from the button? Uh, Man, that's programming, isn't it? We're like, I'm going to learn all about NavigationStack today, and now we're stuck on gestures colliding with each other. Okay, let's try this simultaneous gesture modifier. Okay, so not not so much. Okay. Um, huh. Okay, so perhaps let's try putting a button in maybe the top right or something. Um, I guess maybe one last try. Let's put it on the Z stack, which has the background of the cell, and then it shows the content. It's a big nope. Okay. So I'm not sure if we can add a button inside of a button, but we are about to find out. Details, and what's a good system image for details? Maybe like the little eye in a circle. Let's look at SF symbols and pick out a nice one. It might be called info. Yeah. Ooh, vertical fill, sure. And again, let's just print to make sure that it's hooked up. Oh, it's like right in the center. Let's see. Set a foreground color of maybe white for now. Yeah, it's like it's like on top of it. I'm not sure if both of these are firing. I guess that's what I'm curious about. We can see details is firing here. Okay, so we actually can put a button inside inside of a button. Um, See if we can offset this to the top right or bottom right, perhaps. Um, Maybe it'll be just the image. Um, see, that's the best way to push this to one corner. I don't want to like measure stuff. That would feel bad. But maybe this is a chance to use those new custom layouts. So we can say something like bottom right layout is a layout. And the size that fits will be just the proposed size. And that, well, then we remember from yesterday how to set this up. So we want to do a bottom light layout of this button, all these extra parens. But for now, let's see what we get when we print. Let's print the bounds and the proposal. Cool, so the proposal matches the bounds. Perfect. Okay, so we want to, we know there's only going to be one subview, so we can just say subviews.first. Place at. Oh, do we need to get a, oh, we have to propose a size to the subview. Um, hmm. suppose we could map through them instead of sort of doing a guardlet. Uh, uh, Subview in subview dot place. Yeah. And do I get this? Can I get the size of this? I can ask it for a size that fits. Okay. This one's a proposed view size. Just pass in the proposal again. Walls of map is unused. Oh, I guess we can change this to a for each to suppress that warning. So then where do we place this? I guess this would be make a new CG point. So the X is going to be I guess we'll start with bounds.origin.x. And we want to add bounds.width and then subtract out the size of the subview. And we're not doing any padding at this moment. And I guess if we're doing this in the bottom right, this will look exactly the same, just with, you know, verticals. So Y instead of X, height instead of width. I'll leave that print in for now until we get it to look right. Cool, and we can, by hitting this breakpoint, we can see that there's two different tab sections for this. So let's try putting padding around that button instead of, because maybe that'll be easier than than doing math. Padding, just the default padding. Yeah, this is kind of like really gets in your face. But it does give it a better, tap area. I guess it depends on how long these timer names are. I really should be doing this inside of a preview instead of starting the app over and over. Let's go back to, oh, here we are, right on the screen that I want to be. Let's unpause the preview. And then pin it. Yeah, here we go. I thought a square would be like a really nice shape for this. I guess there might be a little room at the top there above the duration. Or alternatively, if we put a spacer, everything will move to the top. Failed? Really? Command B to get the build failure. Nope, build succeeded. It's the preview getting a little confused. No worries. Let's try again. See, it says failed to build. But it was able to build right here. This builds. It's the doctor's. Reference to generic type. Oh, okay. So what's happening is because cell template is it's generified because it takes a content, it becomes more difficult to reference bottom right layout like this. I'm a little surprised that this error is not coming through when we do a regular build. Let's see if we do a clean. Okay. Command K doesn't seem to be why is it grayed out? That is such a weird bug with the what's it called? The Apple IDs. Um, so we can see that the changes came through here in the live version. Yeah, I think it's just a little too much padding. And also, I'm going to take this layout out. Maybe I'll make it private in this file. It's not needed anywhere else yet. And it is reusable enough. It's just a bottom right layout. Like it was very easy to name. It wasn't anything particular to this view at all. And that's one thing I really like about Swift is we can just put stuff anywhere until we're ready to find a real home for it. Let's see, so did that fail or not? It said it failed, and now it looks like it's unfailed. So this is not perfect, but this is what I like the best so far. Um, and I'm sure we'll continue to tweak this visual. Um, I'm going to start the app again. Okay, so we get this details thing. Okay, so this looks fine enough. So let's commit this, and then let's move on to the navigation stack. Let's see what we did. We added a detail button to timer cell template. Okay, so we're gonna want to like navigate. And I guess that means, well, a couple of things. Um, this this cell could be responsible for navigation. That's true. Would require passing in the timer ID or something to this template. However, we can also um, add like a detail action that gets passed in. Um, which makes this cell template a little bit more reusable because it's not necessarily tied to navigation in that case. So instead of shouting out details, tapping the detail button and call this detail action. Now, if we build, we're going to get some build failures um, because we haven't passed in anything in. Um, and I'm also kind of thinking that because we have different types of cells, like they don't want to be responsible for navigation either. That's kind of repetitive. Um, It'd be great if navigation happened up at this sort of this screen level. Um, so that's where this other navigation is happening. That's where the toolbar is, where the navigation title is. Um, However, I guess it just shows a timer grid, right? Not really a good place for a navigation hook inside of this screen at this level. Oops. Here we have the lazy grid. Um, does this want to be responsible for the navigation? Yeah, maybe not, huh? Although perhaps this cell that decides which kind of cell it is, this could have the um, this could create a navigation callback to pass in. So we just pass it straight on through. To the cell template. Does that make sense? Is this too fancy? Oh, the at escaping goes after the colon. And do the same thing for the ready cell. Then the detail action in here, this can just be this like navigate to timer ID. Yeah, then each cell knows how to show itself. I think that's okay. It makes it more reusable. Okay, so now that we hooked up the actions to this by means of the cell passing in a detail action, each kind of cell, and those cells have a template that they follow that creates the detail button and will call the passed in action to get to the detail. Okay, so that we have that set up, we can do some NavigationStack stuff. First, let's commit that up a detail action to the detail button. So the navigation stack is here way at the top level in app. So I think this takes a state, data, and a root. We can pass in a bunch of timer IDs, perhaps. Get views of different types. Navigation path instance. How do I create a navigation path? Quotable representation. Okay. Let's try emptying it, knitting an empty one. Missing label path. Okay. So in the example code, they had an observable object that managed the path. We can check this out. And I think that's actually a pretty good model because we can pass like references to that observable object like all throughout the code base. I'm not sure what a good name for that would be. I guess they use my model object. Um, I guess we can call this path object. No, path model. Here. And this will have the nav path. Oh, we need to import Swift UI, of course. Let's see, how do I want to do this? At state object of path model is a path model. Now, what's the error here? I think I do that by removing the dollar, or do I need to put the dollar in over here? Oh, this needs to be knitted. There we go. Then I think we can have this as an environment object as well. And then I think our navigation can grab instance of that out of the environment. I'm ready regarding the name path model. I feel like nav model might be a little better. Path model.navpath and timer ID. Okay, so I'm not sure how to tell the path that this is a timer ID. But that compiles. See if I run it. App navigation link as representing a value of type UUID. There is no matching navigation destination visible in the location of the link. The link cannot be activated. Okay, well that's actually a somewhat helpful error message. So I think if I remember correctly from WWDC, we say some stuff on here. We say like, well, let's look at the documentation. Some kind of like view for path or something. Either way, I'll be right back. I'm gonna hit the restroom real quick. Okay, so we're looking at NavigationStack, and we got a somewhat helpful error message. A navigation link is presenting a value to UUID. There's no matching navigation destination. So how do I set up matching navigation destinations? Oh, here we go. Navigation destination 4 UUID.self. So how do I how do I implement this? Oh, I just create the view here. So this will be timer and spec screen with the timer ID. Which is the UUID in this case. So we got the same error despite setting a navigation destination. Now let's look at the help for this again. Oh, so it goes not on the navigation stack, it goes on the contents of the navigation stack. Okay, that's a little tricky, but okay. Okay, let's run the simulator again. Oh, it works. That's cool. First pass at NavStack showing timer detail screen. So what was the change? Um, we have a path model environment object, and we append um, for that the timer ID. Um, it's the simplest observable object ever. We just have a navigation path, which is new in iOS 16, and have it be published. And then in the root, we hook all of it up and we put a navigation destination not on the navigation stack, but on the contents of the navigation stack. And I see a few renames coming through. I keep calling it timer detail. So I will make that name change. Rename failed. Okay. We'll do it by hand. No worries. And I'm guessing there's going to be one more place where we need to update it. Yeah, right here. Okay. Uh, and another rename I'd like to do is, I think, path model be named like nav model instead. Nav stuff having the word nav or navigation in it, I think feels better than path. Then this can become path again. Oh, and here's another here. What is the failure? Oh, one of these has to be $1, right? I think it's this one. Crap, what was it? Go change. Yeah, the dollar goes on the outside. Let's try building one more time. Maybe it's okay. There's some there's some other stuff going on too, I guess. Model nav model dot path. Yeah, sometimes you get very specific error messages that have nothing to do with what's actually wrong. Like we were getting error messages in here, uh, despite the fact that we had missed a rename in a different file, or maybe because we uh, had the rename in the other file. Um, yeah, which I'm guessing that's got to be tough for new people. That even like that throws me off still sometimes. Um, you saw me like moving the dollar sign around. Do I have the dollar sign wrong? Like, no, it was that wasn't the error at all. Okay, so we did a few renames. Verifying renames. Let's see. So then one thing that I'm noticing is that this is just getting any UUID. Um, and that's what we're using for all of our IDs, or UUIDs. So we need a way to differentiate the different kinds of UUIDs in our app. Right now, this is sort of works by default since we only have one navigation destination set up. Um, so how can we have multiple types of UUIDs? I kind of feel like where's our record type? That this needs to be like a this needs to be its own type of like ID perhaps, and this can be perhaps a struct called ID. This has a UUID on it. Just regular codable. Ambiguous type name ID. Oh, because this is taking a UUID. This should be an ID. This will be our new ID type. I guess the subtask here is differentiate UUIDs by making a new type, question mark. I guess we would say we got that navigation stack done. Can move the microscope to here since this is our experiment now. Okay, so I guess this needs to be equatable and possibly a few other things. Run record. But does this need to be database value convertible also? Ambiguous type. Does this need to be a different name? I don't think so. Ambiguous type name ID. I've seen that all over the place. Oh, now I'm not getting it. So we can make this custom string convertible as well. Bottom. I think this is an extra curly brace. Why is it ambiguous type? Associated type ID. Oh, make it hashable. There we go. Now this is hashable. Get something different. And this can be timer record dot d. Now build succeeds. And there's one last tweak I think I want to make of encode to and decode from. I want to make this a single value container. I think means we don't pass in a key to it. Yeah. And then init from decoder, decoder dot single value container. Oh, if we take off this type, yeah, then it'll work. So the point of doing this little dance is that I want it, when it codes and decodes, I want it to still look like it's still just one thing. Because otherwise it's going to put, in, if this were JSON, for example, would be like ID, UUID, I don't know, some UUID string. It would look like that. But because we're doing this little dance, this all collapses to be a into a single value container. So it's going to look like this with all the other fields following. We can make it private. Wonder if that's a good idea or not. I mean, because we can get it out with asking for the ID, the description. I'm kind of curious to see how far this will go. I guess we can test it by running the app without any database changes, and everything still shows up perfectly. And I guess we can run the tests. Cool, it shows that we did that perfectly as well. So I guess the run record needs a similar ID. And wow, this is a lot. Maybe this should go in its own file? extension timer record. Actually, I don't know if I need this. If I leave it off, okay, I guess it needs to be database value convertible. Okay. Then we can do the same thing for run record. It's going to be a very, very similar copy paste modify. Just going to say run here, and it's otherwise going to be exactly the same. Oh, because we have to say the ID is ID now. Cool, the test still work. Interesting. Then do we stack these? Well, for starters, we can change this here. So if we make this ID, it's not as visually intimidating. Yes, we haven't defined a run detail screen yet. I'm just sort of guessing that after tapping into a timer, we might show a list of previous runs, and we can click into that run, something like that. I guess is maybe a fine next step to sort of explore explore this navigation stack. I guess one thing that sticks out to me is that we have all this stuff here, and our content is just this. You don't really, it doesn't really jump out what the root screen is. You have to wade through all this stuff. Um, I guess if we do this approach, then it'll be, you know, easy to change the route, perhaps. Um, Although also, since we are we have this navigation model, um, maybe it's easy to change the route that way as well. So I think we differentiated the UUIDs by making a new type. Um, I think to further explore navigation stack, I guess we could say at the top, this is navigation stack exploration. Yeah, it's a little too bold. Text. Yeah, so we want to show list of previous runs and then nav to a run. Um, and then that'll let us see if we're doing this navigation destination thing correct or not. For now, it's not compiling, so let's comment it out. And what are our current changes before we dive into something new? Oh, we got a lot going on. So this was yeah, this was differentiating UUIDs by making a new type for each one. Okay. Yes, so this is a previous screen. So let's go to the screen folder. And we want to perhaps we want to load the timer and show the all the previous runs for so that we can just have a list of things. Well, I guess we don't have anything to loop through for now. So we have to do the database load first. I guess that's two queries, one to get the timer information and one to get the previous run information. Or I guess for now, we don't have to, we're trying to learn the navigation stack. We know how to get stuff out of the database. That's something we can fill in later. For exploration right now, the main thing is getting the previous runs out of the database. Maybe we'll make a run record.all query for a timer. We can start off by this will copy paste from here. So this is going to be an extension on run record. What do we call it? We called it all for timer query. And it's a list query. I'm going to return a bunch of run records. And the actual query is really quick. Just going to filter run record dot columns, which are coding keys in this case, equals the passed in timer ID. So these will need to be initialized with a timer ID. And I think that should compile. Cool, looks like this compiles. The error is somewhere else. Yes, so this at query comes from GRDB query, which is the Swift UI wrapper around GRDB, which is my personal favorite SQLite wrapper. This will be a list of run records. What should we show from the run to say? Maybe we'll say the start time for now. Oh, this is an ID. This is run. Just for now to get something to tap on. Oh, we need to convert this to a time or something. Oof. I think there's a formatted we can use for now. No, there isn't. Let's see. So this is a new type in iOS 16. It doesn't look like it has any kind of formatting on it. And it also looks like, advanced by duration to a different instance. Yeah, it does not have a nice two string. That's unfortunate. Doesn't even have a description, man. Ooh, that is rough. Okay, so I guess for now we'll try to convert it to a date and go from there. So this will be self dot duration to now. I mean, let's just get something to show. This is probably not what we're going to ship with at all. Oh, so this is saying that I haven't initialized this yet, which is, I guess, a little true. So let's write the initializer to initialize this query with this timer ID. So this is a new query. with the timer ID passed in. And the key path for our app database is app database. This should do it. Succeeded. Cool. So we're showing something. Not the cleverest thing, but we are showing something. Now let's see if we can get a click on here to show that we're navigating correctly. Well, let's commit that, even though it's a little rough. Let's see, so do we make these each a button, perhaps? And if so, I think we say something like, oh, we guess we need a reference to the nav model. And here, I think we say nav model dot path dot append run dot ID. We make this in HStack with a spacer and a chevron at the end. Is there a chevron like trailing? Like, do I need to say dot right? Let me check real quick in SF symbols. Paste in the word chevron, chevron forward. Yes, I think this will, yeah, because this will localize. Perfect. No observable object of type nav model found. Oh, did I not use environment object? Did. Oh, do I need to pass this in on every single thing like this? It's doing something. But we are getting this little message again. I think is a good sign. I think that means we're ready to do this. Instead of writing the whole screen, I think we can make this just a text. One of the nice things about SwiftUI, e dot e dot. Oh, I think we can just say description. Cool. So it definitely went to, it was able to differentiate the two kinds of IDs, even though they're both UUIDs underneath. That's fantastic. navigate to a run by its ID. So the summary of how we did that is, yes, we were correct to just keep stacking these navigation destinations. We found out that the environment object at the top here does not get passed down to these things down here. It seems to be its own context. Um, although I would like to try something else. If we put this environment object all the way outside, not on the window group, on the navigation stack, and I exclude it from everywhere else. Yes. Oh, okay. Let's remove it from here. Okay, so that's not so bad. We can put it, the environment object, out on the navigation stack. We don't have to add it on every single screen. That feels quite a bit better. And let's commit that little bit of cleanup. Then we'll do a review, I guess. Environment object can be on navigation stack instead of its contents. Okay, so we have our root, which is the grid screen, 2 navigation destinations. We have the nav model hooked up directly on the nav stack and then also passed into the whole contents of the app as an environment object. We didn't need to put them individually on here after we put it outside here. However, we could not put the navigation destinations outside. You get the navigation link error. So a little surprising, but that's how it is. Oh, is this why the preview doesn't do navigation? Let me do one more refactoring. Will this work? Well, it succeeded. That's a good sign. Oh, and this should be blocked by if debugs. Pop that in real quick. Okay, let's try to redo the preview. Still can't navigate in the preview for some reason. Although perhaps I broke something in the simulator. Let's double check that. No, that still works. Maybe if I make this its own view, I can do a preview of that. Bring it up here next to all the other files. Yeah, then there aren't any app previews. We just have a root nav preview. Oh, we need to import Swift UI, of course. And I guess we can bring these other two over, part of the root nav. Maybe we'll inline this. I know we removed it earlier. And the app looks like this, root nav. It has the root nav, which creates the nav model. Start the previews for this. Now I can cool. This feels pretty good. So maybe this nav model should be a root nav model or something. I mean, it's a real object with just one thing. Um, let's commit this though to break something of something we can come back to. Extract root nav to a separate file so we can make a preview for it. Because what would be nice if you could say environment like nav path is some navigation path. Something like that could be nice. Then define this environment variable. So let's say what we're doing. Can we store just fpath in env instead of whole object? Well, I guess the one benefit of having it wrapped in an object is that there's some there's some indirection there. Um, like we can make it so that this isn't necessarily editable from outside. We could have it be like um, internal private set. Let's comment this out for now. And then things like this, like navigate to something, like all that logic would go on the navigation model, which would enable us to, kind of protect the navigation path if we need to in the future. I guess just having the whole model writable by anyone, um, maybe maybe that's not what we want. Um, we could have methods like these. And these are allowed to append to the path. I'm not sure if this is overkill. I mean, it's a very simple app so far. Um, but I guess I kind of do feel uncomfortable with the idea of um, just like basically just like a global variable without any protections about how it's accessed. Um, what's nice about this approach, especially with the private set on here, is that we know that any navigation is going to come through one of these methods. We don't have to go searching where who's updating the path. Um, so I guess I kind of talked myself out of that. Not assigned a property path setter is inaccessible. Oh, ooh, that's a little spicy. NavigationStack wants to be able to edit the path itself. I was not expecting that. Man, I thought we were going to have a nicely encapsulated little path in here. Instead, it'll be protected by means of a comment, I guess. Please call method. Please. Please don't mutate directly. Provide a binding when you create a stack. Okay. I wonder why the navigation stack wants to modify the path. I wonder if it does some like state restoration stuff on our behalf. I mean, I guess we could get a little bit fancier. We could knit it with a path. And knit it with a binding, perhaps. Because then, okay. Uh, yeah, this is getting a little too funky. I was thinking like the path could be editable from out here, but I think it's just I'm overthinking it a little too much. Um, keep the nav model for now. Um, Man, I really it would be so nice to have the compiler be able to enforce, protections for us without having to do uh, too much too much other stuff. Um, let's see. Maybe nav model dot timer ID, and the other place would be here, model dot show run ID. I mean, there are we could get creative with how to protect the path. Um, I think that's good. That's good for today. Um, what did we end up doing here? We added like added show methods to nav model. Cool. So this was good. Um, we, I would say we learned NavigationStack, at least the basics of it, um, and it's working quite well. Ooh, something else to try. If we put navigation destination only on a content of it, because this is already a content. I'm just so curious how this works. Ooh, all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. We just completely remove it. Oh, did I not implement those methods? No, path.append. Path.append. My. Okay, so definitely broke something. Nav, navigation stack, nav model.path. But does this need to be a state object? Yes. Okay. Ooh. That's a little fascinating. This needs to be a state object, not an environment object. I mean, not just a regular state. Uh, we can describe that. Uh, Nav model must be at state object. So I guess to answer our question that was open, can we store just nav path in the environment? I mean, I guess we could, but we found like good reasons to not, because you can kind of enforce how the path gets manipulated. Unfortunately, we can't say internal private set because the navigation stack wants to be able to edit the path, unfortunately. Um, and I'm not sure why. We give it kind of a one-way binding. Oh, this needs parens and a comma and a colon. Let's take an autocomplete. Yeah, set. Yeah, so I guess we could do this to have all the navigation only from here. We have our private set because we have our read-only binding here. I wish I knew why NavigationStack wanted to edit the stack. Um, I guess we could print. You even put a breakpoint there. Oh, because I guess when you click back, it it sets it. Okay, I guess that's I guess that's a good reason for it to be editable. It would have been so elegant. Oh, right. I mean, I guess this is like the root nav model. Like maybe these should be more similar, have more similar names. Root nav and root nav model. Maybe. Maybe. Yes. Um, Forever comment. Okay. Cool. Our app is a tiny little file. We have the root nav. Because now that you can put multiple different stuff in the window group, right? I think when you make a widget, it goes in here also. So uh, like main nav or root nav or main app, that could be like its own group of screens. Um, I guess that's kind of a rename for a future time. Maybe getting a little too caught up in stream elegance. Um, Everything with like very put in its place. Yeah, extracting that feels good because those two are tied to each other. If we had a nav for a different set of windows or something, they would be, possibly a different nav. Um, uh, so coming back to answering a question, maybe, but we decided to encapsulate. Cool. So we let inspecting the timer kind of drive um, our navigation stack exploration, and we did so. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, on Wednesdays is my shorter stream. Um, I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. with um, more Swift UI. Probably either continue on this app or one of my other apps. You can follow my Twitter down there for stream updates, or go to my website for links to my App Store, my calendar, links to my GitHub, and my YouTube, which has all of the past episodes of this stream. What else? Yes, for subscribers, we have Discord if you want to ask more questions in private about Swift. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow.